I'm Nicole Jones, host of Mediocre to Masterful, a podcast teaching you how to go after your goals that you've pushed to the side. This is a resource to help you be fearless with your goals and familiar with the feeling of success. This podcast includes best practices to elevate your goals in multiple areas to help you pursue mastery over your life. Mental health is a topic that hits very close to home for me. I have relatives and friends conquering mental illness. If you follow me online, you know I have talked about mental health and that I'm currently doing a fundraiser that actually ends this week. And this week is actually Mental Health Awareness Week, the first week of October. And all the proceeds that I am raising go towards the NAMI Walk here in Atlanta, which is a 5K at the Clark Atlanta Stadium. And NAMI stands for the National Association of Mental Illness. So this is definitely my shameless plug to say, make sure you go donate to the cause. I have the link on my website, on my Instagram and on my Facebook page. So please help me on this cause with mental health. Throughout my process of gaining awareness and education and just being involved with the mental health community and just, trying to be more aware, Eugenia Attigah has been a shining light in my corner and throughout this process, like from the very start. And Eugenia Attigah, she's on the line with me now. Eugenia, thank you for joining me today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
If you could share with our listeners, your role in the mental health community and, basically how did you find your calling in this space?
Well, I'm a licensed professional counselor. I recently got fully licensed in January 2018. It's been a long way coming, but very rewarding to be in this field. Initially, when I started going to school, I thought I was supposed to be a nurse, but I kept getting sidelined by getting into the nursing programs and trying to get into the different colleges for nursing. So I kind of sidelined going to school for like 6 years.
Wow.
And suddenly when I was at a bus stop one day, sat next to a flyer and it stated life coaching and psychology at Life University, and it struck an interest with me. And I went to the interest meeting and fell in love with the campus and with the people. And I ended up getting my undergrad in psychology, which led for me to go to the master's program at Argosy University for community counseling.
Wow.
And here I am.
That is huge. That story right there, first of all, I didn't know that part. So thank you for sharing that. But that really shows, from a goals perspective, like you basically kept getting pushed aside from the nursing program and you really were led to be in this particular field.
Yeah.
Yeah. But guys, let me tell you, God always sends the right people in your life when you ask him, and if you're following his word. And I must say, I'm like holding my heart because Eugenia has truly been God sent for me and my family. In lieu of the Mental Health Awareness Week, it was only fitting to discuss this topic of how you going to win if you ain't right within. And I'm really... this particular show has been in my heart for quite some time. When I was building out what I want to discuss on this Mediocre to Masterful platform, and this one I knew for sure I wanted to talk about, and I just didn't know, who I'm going to have this interview with, and it just dawned on me there's nobody better than Eugenia to help me discuss this particular topic, and we will discuss, how mental health impacts you and achieving your personal goals. I guess my first question, Eugenia, is give us perspective on why is mental health so taboo in the Black community especially?
It's taboo on several different levels. First of all, in African American culture, we're so big on religion and spirituality. We have a sense of thinking that it could solve all things. And depending on your faith and what you believe in, God puts people on this earth as vessels to do his will. So there's a purpose for psychiatrists, there's a purpose for counselors, purpose in the physical aspect to treat mental health issues. So So yes, spirituality is a huge component of healing. Mental health illness being the same aspect. There is a physical aspect that you have to address. So like if you are not sleeping for a long period of time, it sends your brain into this imbalance, like this off rhythm, which causes depression and anxiety. So just like if you were cut badly, you'll go to the ER and get it addressed. So if you're having crying spells and you don't know the reason why you're crying, or you're really irritable, upset, those are all warning signs that you need help or you need to see somebody to address those issues.
Yeah. I think to your point earlier about, in our community, it's just, we are just so tied to the Spirit and, the Holy Ghost and God being able to heal all things. But I think you made a great point when you said, well, he also created psychiatrists, counselors. Like, they aren't there for nothing. They're not there just to, have a doctor in front of their name or, what have you. They're there to actually help you and assist with a lot of the things that, now we're hearing a lot more about, which is, in the mental health arena. So mental health can be a lot to unpack when you think about it. Like, if you're not already aware of how to navigate through this spectrum of mental health, you won't even know where to begin, which is, why it's important to, I guess, reach out to those counselors or seek help or just do some research online.
Absolutely.
On the point of mental health becoming, a lot more present in the news and the media, I almost want to say, and I'm putting like air quotes in the air, that mental health is like a trend at this present moment, and I don't think it should be seen as such. Like, it's an everyday practice. Mental health is an everyday practice. And I just want to get, what are your thoughts on this increased awareness of mental health, good and bad?
I think from a therapist perspective, it's awesome that people are becoming more aware that mental health exists, and are seeking help is not a trend, it's a way of life. So to implement the coping skills that they get from their therapists or they get from their psychiatrists into their everyday lives, so they are healthy and whole. Because there's a lot of broken people walking around with like masks on, like everything's okay, and everything's not okay. So I think it's time that we address certain issues so people can be free.
Wow. No, that's true. I actually saw a photo. It was either on Instagram or Facebook or something, and it was like this little comic strip, and it was about mental awareness. And the little comic or the little character asks the other person, "How are you doing?" And then the response is basically, "I'm not okay." And basically the premise was, it's okay to be not okay, just as long as you share that and talk it out with, someone. You don't have to put on this mask, like you mentioned, to cover up what's really going on inside.
Absolutely. Especially with the increased rate of suicide in celebrities. Like, the assumption is because they have more money that they're okay. They're human at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah.
And what if you were sitting next to somebody who was thinking about committing suicide at the end of their life? We are all stakeholders. So to ask a question to someone is essential. Like, are you doing okay? Like, how are you feeling? Just to check in, because you never know what anybody's going through to give them the help that they need. So it's not just me. Everybody in the community is a stakeholder in regards to suicide prevention.
Yeah. And that's something, you hear about, check on the strong friend and, just these different things that you're starting to hear now in terms of just checking in on people. And typically you will recognize the signs. Like, if you know that person, well enough, you start seeing signs that just don't make sense. Whether it's suicide or not, it could just be, something else going on. Depression. You typically can see some signs after a while, and if you communicate with them enough.
It's so true.
I guess that really rolls into, having and nurturing self-awareness as well. So not only having those stakeholders or, which are really your friends and family, being there to check in on you, you also have to have some sort of self-awareness. Like, you have to have and nurture self-awareness in order for your well-being to be good. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I have this saying that I always say to myself and to my clients: to thy own self be true. So you can be true to yourself. How can you be true to somebody else and be congruent with them?
Girl, that's a tweet. I need to write that down. That's a quote right there. I love that. Oh, yes. Yes. And self-awareness includes, knowing where to place your energy, who to share it with, when you're being triggered by something, when to remove yourself from, the hustle and bustle of life. Maybe work was just too much today, or maybe the kids are too much today. And, knowing how to remove yourself from that and practice either like a mantra or some sort of self-care. And I guess another way is knowing when the seasons change, that your vibrations change as well. Like all these things play into self-awareness and knowing your state of mental health.
Absolutely correct. I think oftentimes we cause ourselves chaos because we stay in the season that's up, whether it be at your job, whether it be in a relationship or certain circumstances. We tolerate too much. So to create boundaries are very important.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that can be really difficult when it's family, because especially, depending on certain cultures, the family is like, you going to invite all the family members into your house. They about to live with you this year. And, just different things and cultures and elements play into that part, and knowing when to, set those boundaries and not feel like you are breaking a family tradition because that's the way it's always been, or just different things.
I think that is very key, even in my family culture, because my family's from Ghana, West Africa. So within that culture, it's just like you take care of your parents till they die. It's your sole responsibility to take care of them. So with that, it's just like I had to create a boundary for myself because it was becoming too much. So practicing when I'm preaching, in order to stay sane and do the work that I do, you have to learn how to have self-care and implement boundaries, even with family, even with the people that are closest to you, because of the field that you're in, they will pull on you. So learning that boundary.
Yeah. Wow. I applaud you for being able to do that. Because that can be really challenging, especially knowing that's just how the family culture is. Like, you grew up knowing I have to take care of that's a pressure already growing up as a child, that I need to make sure my life is in order so I can take care of my mom. Like you have already known that from the very start. Yeah, creating those boundaries is critical to your own self-healing, I guess you would say. And self-care. And I guess to that point, what are some other practices that you do? I know you help a lot of people in counseling them and, making them better and improving their lives. But what are some of your self-care goals and practices?
Every morning, I wake up and I listen to inspirational music, listen to worship, and I read some type of positivity or scripture. Depending on your faith or your walk, my faith is Christianity, so I always read Jesus' calling book, and it really kind of sets my day. So I always leave the house with some type of positivity in my spirit, because I don't know what type of attack I'm going to encounter. So I'm a huge advocate or a believer of like mantras or positive affirmations that I speak to get me through the day.
Yeah, and there's so much power in those affirmations, just so much power in words in general. But when you are basically creating, and actually I did a show on this called Save Your Environment, where basically you are creating the atmosphere that you want to step into for the rest of the day. And that's a daily practice.
Yeah. So listening to music, also using mindfulness techniques sometimes when my mind is just going and I'm trying to complete like 5,000 things at one time, I would turn on. I'm in the office. I'll turn on like rain or the ocean water, and focus my energy or my focus on that sound to kind of calm me down and kind of get me back into tune, back into focus where I need to. So I practice that throughout the day.
Oh wow, that's basically like a form of meditation too.
It is.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's something that I really need to do more of, meditation. Like I do yoga and great gratitude journal and my devotion and everything, but I have not really created like a consistent practice with meditation. And when I have done meditation, I absolutely loved it. Like it's the best. Oh my God. I just have to get my mind to stop thinking.
That's the ultimate goal.
Yes.
And the time you're thinking about what you're thinking about, you can't stop.
Yeah.
It might 1 o'clock in the morning, so you just have to learn how to rest.
Yeah. I think what really helps me is guided meditations. Like I have to really practice like my self meditations, like being in that mode, but I really do better with the guided meditations where somebody is kind of like talking me through to stop thinking about everything else and, you know, focus on, you know, what's in your mind. Think about the field that's in front of you. You know, just a guided meditation is a lot better.
I think that's the most powerfulest way of meditating. I actually did that today with a client. So I had her like as if she was in like a rainforest and her hands are open.
Yes.
Whatever care or pressure that she's carrying, I told her to place it in her hand and let the rain like dissolve and let it wash away.
Oh, wow.
It was very powerful because like from the outside looking in, I could see her, I could see the pressure lifting away.
Wow.
Right.
Oh, that's
so it's
awesome.
just like, it's so powerful, like she was like in that moment. So it's so important for us to live in that moment. Yeah. Wherever your happy place is, be in that moment. Yeah. That's
beautiful. That is so beautiful. Oh my God. Girl, you might as well just end this podcast with a guided meditation. No, that is awesome. Yeah, there is more power in those guided meditations because, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's just a lot more helpful to walk with somebody in that journey in a sense. And they kind of lead you. It seems like they're leading you there, but really you are leading yourself there with the help of somebody else, which is also powerful. Like what you hear? Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Mediocre to Masterful and on Twitter at M to Masterful. And when you check out our website, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter for freebies and information about upcoming podcasts and ways to master your goals. Mental health is like it's a never-ending journey because there is something that you will learn about yourself every single day. And I know for me, I have been the past couple of years, more so this past year, really intentional about my mental health. And this is all, you know, coming from a lot of family things that are going on. And I'm like, you know what? I need to focus on me and making sure that I'm okay, that I'm able to pour into myself before I think I can pour into 500 other people. So it's, you know, it's been a learning process, and it's a beautiful thing. Like when you actually stop and make time for yourself, it's the greatest, you know, self-love practice there is. Yeah. Earlier we talked about having those stakeholders and your friends and family, you know, being able to pick up on some things that are a little bit unusual practices that you're doing. I feel like there are always signs really nudging you to seek out help, to seek out counseling, or if you feel like you need to be evaluated. I feel like, you know, everyone should be able to recognize those nudging moments because they happen. You know, you might feel like, you know, something's a little bit off, but, you know, maybe you kind of like brush it off and, you know, don't really pay attention to it. What would you say to that person who has like these nudging things happening to them to seek help?
I would say follow your instinct, follow that nudge, because it could save your life. It can save a loved one's life. It's so important to be aware of intuition or those promptings to get help.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Intuition, that's what it is. That's a better word. I like that one. I'm pretty sure there is someone that walked into 2018 with their goals list ready, and they were ready to release and live their best life. And, they probably had those nudging moments, that intuition telling them that, there's something to work on, and they ignored the signs that they need help. What happens because of that is everything is not going well. That goals list that they created for the top of the year has basically not happened. And, things aren't going well inside, and they don't know how to ask for help. How can we encourage these listeners to begin the healing process of following their intuition?
First, you have to get to a place of acknowledging your current state of being. So, like, if you feel stuck or if you feel helpless or hopeless, to acknowledge, like, I feel this way. Because a lot of times, a lot of people don't acknowledge that, okay, I'm not okay. Keep on pushing until they break. So that's the first step, is to acknowledge that you're hurting or that you're dealing with something, and then seek help. Or even ask a question to a loved one, because that loved one might have resources or might have the information, or you can look online to get information in regards to healthcare services if you have insurance, because there is help out there and you're not alone. In regards to the goal aspect, I think oftentimes with New Year's resolutions and starting a new year off, like, the goal is so broad. So it's just like you might feel overwhelmed or feel like you can't achieve it, so you stop. So oftentimes it's best to just kind of narrow it down, make it a SMART goal.
Yeah.
It's specific. Is it measurable? Is it realistic? Is it time oriented? Can I attain this goal? So just to start from a 1 month plan, then you can grow to 6 months instead of thinking like within a year I'm gonna do this. But you don't have the foundation to do that, so it never gets done.
Right, exactly. That is so true, and that's one of the main reasons I created this platform is because of that reason. Like, people have these outlandish, super broad, in some cases unrealistic goals of, I want to be able to, purchase a yacht by the end of the year, but you don't even have boat money. You don't even have a trolley ride money. Like, there are certain things that are just unattainable that you have to build up to. Like, you have to do groundwork first and make, like you said, make those goals measurable, put a time frame behind it, create some actionable steps throughout the year to get you to that, big goal.
Right. Oh, I'm just a sole believer of vision boards. I create one every year for myself, and I break it down for like career, health,
oh yeah,
relationships, whatever category you want to break it down to. I think it's essential, because how can you see a thing if you can't see yourself there? How can you attain it?
Yes.
It always kind of puts me into focus about what I'm trying to do for this moment.
Right. And I do the same thing.
Bit by bit.
Yes, I am right with you. I also do my vision boards. I can send you a picture of mine now, but I do vision boards every year as well. And I don't put like the categories at the top, but I kind of position the pictures in certain sections of the vision board so they kind of make sense and relate to one another.
Right.
But yeah, I do the same thing. Like, I need a visual, and I also need to write it down. Like, I'm just that person. So I'm right with you on that point. And I guess on the flip side, we talked about the person who is, who needs to follow their intuition and seek, some assistance. On the flip side, there's also someone who walked into this year with the goal to stay committed to helping someone with mental illness, whether it's a family member or a close friend. And the road has been super rough for them. but of course they want to stay committed to helping this loved one. How can these listeners practice self-care and stay positive through their journey?
I think the most powerful point to make about that issue is knowing when to hold them and when to fold them. Like when knee deep in the situation and that person is not getting better, you getting frustrated because they not listening to you. Y'all both fighting each other. You need to pull back because there are professionals out here that can help your loved ones. So pull back, pray about it, get wisdom in regards to how to handling a different approach. Maybe it might be that you need to call the Georgia Crisis Line to have like a mobile unit come in and assess your loved one and see if they can get your loved one treated. But there's always a way of handling an issue. But most definitely thing, if you feel consumed with dealing with your loved one, you might have to pull back and hold that boundary, because that boundary will save your life and their life, because like you also a human too. It can stress you out to the point where you start suffering from mental illness because you're worried about them.
Yeah, and that's real. That is real.
So just knowing, even as a professional, like I might have a severe case, I always consult with other colleagues. If I can't help that person, I'm referring them out to somebody, a higher level of care or somebody that can help them.
Yeah, and that's real. And it's definitely a process. Some days you don't know if it's going to be good. Some days you don't know if it's going to be bad. But again, set in whatever boundaries that you can and being realistic about the situation. And, there are many forms of assistance out there that can help you through this process. But definitely keep yourself encouraged, create those boundaries to help you continue to stay committed to this person that you're helping, but also practice self-care and self-love as well. So one of my favorite books that I actually need to reread because I just love it so much and it's just so rich with detail is Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. And he talks about, just profound levels of consciousness and self-awareness. And I was like reading this book and I'm like, ooh, he said that. Like I have like a million sticky notes in this book of things I wanted to go back on because it was just so deep. And I could pull so much from this book that relates to a lot of the things that you have already mentioned. One thing in particular that stands out to me in our topic about mental health is his discussion about pain bodies. And there's one part in the book, in the Breaking Free chapter about triggers, and he mentions that some pain bodies react to only one particular kind of trigger or situation, which is usually one that resonates with a certain kind of emotional pain suffered in the past. Can you speak to that a little bit more and what that means?
Oftentimes, when we experience traumatic events, we often suppress it in our subconscious. So, like it happened, okay, let me push it back in my brain like it never happened or existed. So when you, in present tense, when you walk into a situation and that experience moves, breathes, smells like that traumatic experience, it evokes like a response, like that pain body erupts. So it usually causes a person to either go into like an emotional crisis, they either get really depressed or like they shut down overall because like their body can't really respond or deal with that emotion because it's so intense. And really it's just everything flooding you at one time.
Yeah.
So I think that's very essential inside that book. It's really powerful. You have to deal with those pain bodies because if not, it'll deal with you.
Yeah. If you don't, for the rest of your life too, which can then lead to, other health issues. Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That was deep. Like you got just as deep as this book just did. I really encourage everyone to read that book. It's a great book that welcomes self-reflection, and I just got so much information from that. Just from, as I was on this, journey of improving myself or of self-improvement, which is, always, I try to find things that are fall in line with self-help, and this book definitely did it for me, and just brought more awareness as well. And I think to what Eugenia, what you just mentioned as far as, those pain bodies, like people, the listeners tuning into this might actually identify with that, just that little piece that we just talked about. And it's like, wow, I had no idea that is what is erupting in me every time I, walk into a certain place, or if I see a person that resembles somebody that I have not yet let go of, or, it could be anything. Well, this has been a great discussion. I mean, we could talk forever about, improving mental health and practicing self-care and making sure you're taking care of yourself before you try to pour into others. But is there anything in closing that you want to share, Eugenia, with our listeners?
I just want to encourage everyone to definitely seek mental health resources. If you yourself are going through something and you need help kind of navigating through life, it might be a divorce, it might be a loved one that died. Like, you don't have to go through life by yourself trying to carry that intense emotion, because life is already difficult within itself. But it's just so important to have a resource or a person that you can talk to that will give you sound advice. So that's my encouraging words to everyone. And also, there's a difference between a wall and a boundary. Oftentimes we live this life with a wall, so we negate people the opportunity to experience you as a person, to experience your personality, who you are. Just because you were hurt 10 years ago doesn't mean like the next person that you encounter or people that you deal with are going to hurt you. So you have to learn how to trust humanity, how to trust people, and build healthy boundaries with people.
Wow, that's deep. That is deep. That's real. Oh my goodness, that's awesome. Well, I truly hope that everyone listening today is able to gain something, learn something, or be able to share it with others that they know that might be experiencing some of these things that we talked about. But I truly hope this helps someone out there make great decisions, positive decisions towards their own mental health, and just love on themselves. Like, you need to treat yourself to, self-care. Like, these are important topics. They were once taboo, and we are hoping to, break out of that mold, especially in the African American community, and just embrace what's going on and be more in tune with yourself. Be able to vibrate higher on new levels and break down that wall that Eugenia just mentioned, and, create boundaries for those that do not serve you. So, Eugenia, thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
I am so appreciative of you joining me today on this call, on this podcast. And how can people reach out to you?
Well, I have a private practice in McDonough. I stay in Savannah. Every 2 weeks I come down to McDonough, Georgia. My website is www.brilliancerevealed.com. And I also want to give NAMI Georgia's helpline number for anyone who's in need of someone to talk to, or if you're going through something, it's 770-408-0625. Also, Georgia Crisis Access Line, GCAL, is 1-800-715-4225. And if you enjoyed everything that you heard from Miss Nicole and I have a number that you can call and talk to me on. It's 678-507-0900. And just take care of you and take care of people around you with boundaries. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I can't stop smiling. I can't stop smiling. I appreciate you so much. And I think that's all. Thank you guys for listening. And I hope you enjoyed this show and are able to gain another level of self-love. Hey there, Mediocre to Masterful is online. Visit mediocre-to-masterful.com to listen to our podcast or find us on iTunes. Share this episode with those you know in need of motivation. Through our site, you can join our Masterful email list to get freebies and helpful information. We're also on Instagram at Mediocre to Masterful and Twitter at M2Masterful. Thanks for listening.